Picture this scenario, because I guarantee it has happened to you in the last month. It is 5:30 p.m. on a Friday. You have just finished the 45-hour work week. You're physically present in your car or on the train, but your brain is completely fried. You are driving home and the idea of cooking a meal seems about as appealing as climbing Mount Everest. So you pull up the delivery app. You order Thai food or pizza or burgers. That cost you $45 with the tip and fees. Then you get home. You crack open a beer or pour a glass of wine to take the edge off, and you sink into the couch to binge a show you don't even really like, just to turn your brain off. You tell yourself, I earned this. I worked hard all week. But what if I told you that mathematically, you didn't just spend $45? What if I told you that the pizza, the gas you burned driving home, the nice shirt you wore to the office, and the stress that forced you to order that food in the first place are all hidden taxes that are reducing your salary by nearly 70%? You think you were selling your time for $30 an hour. But after we do the forensic accounting on your life, the math proves you might be working for less than $4 an hour. My name is Bobby, and I spend way too much time obsessing over the invisible equations that govern our lives and keep us running on hamster's wheels that are moving slightly faster than we can run. If you are someone who looks at your paycheck and wonders where it all goes, or if you feel like you are working harder in late 2025 than ever before, but your savings account is basically flat, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because today, we aren't talking about investing. We are talking about an accounting fraud, not one committed by a corporation, but one you are unknowingly committing against yourself every single time you accept a job offer based on the gross salary. We are going to calculate your real hourly wage. And I have to warn you, once you see this number, you will never look at a price tag the same way again. Here's the fundamental lie we are all sold from the moment we graduate school. We are told that our value is defined by our annual salary. If you make $65,000 a year, that is roughly $31 an hour. That sounds decent. It's respectable. It's enough to live, theoretically. But in the business world, looking at revenue without looking at expenses is how companies go bankrupt. If a bakery sells $1 million worth of bread, but spends $1,001 on flour and rent, that bakery is worth zero. Yet when it comes to our own labor, we only look at the revenue, the salary. We completely ignore the cost of goods sold. And the good being sold is you, your life, your energy. And the cost of selling yourself to an employer is astronomical. Let's perform a brutal audit of a hypothetical average worker in this economy. Let's call him James. James makes that respectable $31 an hour. But before that money even hits his account, the government takes its cut. Between federal tax, state tax, and FICA, that $31 is instantly shaved down to about $24. That is the easy math. We all know that. But now we have to subtract the work-related costs. These are the expenses James pays solely for the privilege of having his job. First, the commute. The average American spends thousands of dollars a year on gas, car maintenance, and insurance just to get to the building where they make the money. If he drives 30 minutes each way, that is wear and tear on a vehicle that he basically only owns to get to work. If he takes the train, it's the monthly pass. Let's conservatively say this costs him $4,000 a year. Then there is the cost of appearance. James can't roll out of bed and go to the office in his pajamas. He needs business casual clothes. He needs dry cleaning. He needs to look professional. That is an expense. Then there is the convenience tax. This is the big one. Because James is at the office from 9 to 5, he buys lunch twice a week because he didn't have time to meal prep. He buys the $5 coffee because he needs the caffeine to survive the 2 p.m. meeting. He pays for the dog walker because he isn't home to let the dog out. These are costs that would not exist if he didn't have the job. He is spending money to work. And then there is the darkest category of all, decompression spending. This is the money James spends to numb the pain of the job. It's the Friday night bar tab. It's the impulsive vacation he books because he needs to get away. It's the therapy bills. It's the retail therapy. It is the money we spend to heal the damage the job inflicts on our psyche. When you add all these monetary costs up, the taxes, the car, the clothes, the lunches, the numbness, James isn't taking home $65,000. his net real income might be closer to $35,000. But we're only halfway through the equation, because wage is a function of money divided by time. And just like we overestimate the money, we drastically underestimate the time. HR says James works 40 hours a week, but that is a lie. James wakes up at 6:30 a.m. to shower, shave, and iron his shirt. That is 30 minutes of labor for the employer. He drives 30 minutes to work. That is unpaid labor. He takes an hour for lunch, which is technically off the clock, but he can't go home. He can't nap. He can't play with his kids. He is held captive by the office. Then he drives 30 minutes home. Then when he gets home, he spends 30 minutes decompressing, staring at the wall, venting to his partner about his boss, checking emails on his phone. All of this is shadow work. It is time that belongs to the job, but the job doesn't pay for it. If you add up the grooming, the commuting, the decompressing, and the worrying, James isn't working 40 hours a week. He's dedicating 55 or 60 hours a week to his employment. So now let's do the real math, the real hourly wage calculation. We take that whittled down net income of $35,000 and we divide it by the inflated true hours of nearly 3,000 hours a year. When you punch that into a calculator, that $31 an hour evaporates. Suddenly, James is making $11 an hour or $8, or in some high-stress, high-cost-of-living scenarios, he is mathematically making less than the teenager flipping burgers down the street because the teenager walks to work, wears a uniform, and leaves his stress at the fry station. This is the work scam. You have been tricked into a high-churn, low-margin business model where you are the product and you are selling yourself at a loss. And look, I know this sounds depressing. You might be thinking, great, Bobby, I'm broke and my job sucks. Thanks for the update. But the reason we do this math isn't to make you depressed. It is to make you angry, and more importantly, to make you efficient. Once you know your real hourly wage, your entire view of consumerism changes. This is a concept popularized by the book, Your Money or Your Life, and it is the antidote to being broke. Let's say you calculate your real hourly wage and it turns out to be $10 an hour. Now you walk into a store and see a new pair of shoes for $100. The price tag says $100. But your brain needs to translate that. That isn't $100. That is 10 hours of your life. That is 10 hours of sitting in traffic, dealing with passive-aggressive emails, and missing your family. Is that pair of shoes worth 10 hours of suffering? Suddenly, the answer is almost always no. This math exposes the trap of the golden handcuffs. We often take promotions that offer more money, but come with exponentially higher costs. Let's say you get promoted to manager. They offer you $10,000 a raise. Awesome, right? But now you have to work late every night, so you order takeout every night. You have to buy nicer suits. You need a second car because you can't carpool anymore. And your stress levels skyrocket, so you book a more expensive vacation. You might actually find that your real hourly wage actually goes down after a promotion. You are processing more money through your bank account, but you are keeping less of it, and you are giving up more of your life to get it. There is also a hidden opportunity cost here that is terrifying. When you spend your money on the costs of working, the commute, the convenience food, you are robbing your future self of compound interest. That $5 a day on coffee because you're too tired to brew it at home? Over 30 years, invested at 7%, that is nearly $200,000. You aren't just drinking coffee. You are drinking your retirement. You are drinking your freedom. The system relies on you being too exhausted to do this math. They rely on you being a passive consumer of your own life. They want you to think, I make good money, so you keep signing the lease on the luxury apartment and financing the luxury car, keeping you trapped in the cycle of needing the job to pay for the things you bought to tolerate the job. So what is the solution? How do we break this equation? The answer is not necessarily quit your job tomorrow and live in the woods. We have to be realistic. We have bills. The solution is to ruthlessly optimize your real hourly wage. This becomes the new metric for your success, not income, but efficiency. Can you negotiate working from home 2 days a week? If you save 2 hours of commuting and $10 of gas, you just gave yourself a massive raise without the company paying you a dime more. Can you start meal prepping on Sunday? That lowers your cost of goods sold. Can you move closer to work? Can you stop caring about what your coworkers think of your clothes? Every dollar of work expense you cut is a dollar of pure freedom. But the biggest shift is psychological. You have to start treating your labor like a business. A smart business owner doesn't just try to increase revenue, they try to increase margin. Your life is the business. Your margin is the time and money you have left over to actually be a human being. If you're making $100,000 a year, but you're spending $95,000 and 80 hours a week to generate it, you are a failing business. You are Enron. You are waiting to collapse. But if you make $50,000 a year, spend $20,000, and work 30 hours a week, you are a highly profitable, robust enterprise. You're winning. This is where the negative epiphany turns into positive action. I want you to sit down this weekend, not when you are tired on Friday, but when you are fresh on Sunday, and run the numbers. Calculate your commute cost. Estimate your taxes. Be honest about your decompression spending. Divide your net pay by your total hours committed to the job. Write that number on a sticky note and put it on your credit card. My real wage is $8.50. The next time you go to buy something stupid, look at that number. Ask yourself, am I willing to trade 4 hours of my life for this plastic junk? That friction will save you more money than any budget app ever could. We are living in an era where time is becoming the ultimate currency. The rich are buying time. The poor are selling it at a discount. Don't sell your time at a discount. Audit your life, cut the vampire cost associated with your job, and start building a gap between your income and your expenses, because that gap is where your freedom lives. If this video made you rethink your paycheck, share it with a coworker who looks tired. We're all in this same trap, but we can math our way out of it together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.